If you are confident that you can deliver a good product, and it's what the market wants, you will find somebody that's going to buy it. And so you can have really good returns on investment.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the TED Talks YouTube channel. I'm here with the famous, the infamous, the London developer, the property by Kazi. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me. And
you've only been on my show like once or twice podcast. You've spoken at my events twice.
Mm-hmm.
You've sold out lots of tickets. Let me say it just before you do, because I know you will. Now, what I find really interesting about you, apart from many things, your career as a tennis player, you're apparently a multi-skilled tradesperson as well, is that you invest in London.
Indeed.
Now, a lot of people want to invest in London, but what do they say? Oh, it's too expensive. I can't afford it. I need like $100,000 deposit. For you, why do you invest in London? And is it approachable to people starting out, or is it something for advanced people only?
I think that there's a lot to unpack from that question. So the honest answer is that yes, obviously it's a lot less affordable. Like, you can't go and pick up a property for less than, in most cases, anywhere less than £150,000 anywhere in London, even if it's a studio flat that's 20 square meters. That being said, it depends how you're structuring your deal, how you're financing your deal, because if you're able to raise the money to do a cash deal outside of London, then maybe you can do something on a bridge in London. Now, you do have to take into account that doing something on a bridge is going to raise your risk. You're going to have a higher risk tolerance, because bridging, can be risky. You do have pressures, timeframes that you have to meet. And if you don't meet these timeframes, it can either get best case scenario, a lot more expensive, or worst case scenario, you sign the paperwork that says you can have your property repossessed. That being said, I do think that when people say it's impossible to do deals in London, it's not correct.
And, obviously it costs more, like we said. For people who are hell-bent on investing in London, why do you invest in London?
So I invest in London because in terms of being able to spend money to make money, so your pound for pound return, because your property prices are that bit higher, you can tend to add a lot more value. So starting out, I started with just straightforward refurbs. But again, because ceiling prices in areas, and just from, if a property down the road, because it's on the right road, is 100K more expensive, you spending an extra £5,000 to make a really nice bathroom and have a really good end product is going to mean that potentially you can push those numbers and push those boundaries, and you're playing with a lot wider tolerances, which means if you are confident that you can deliver a good product, and it's what the market wants, you will find somebody that's going to buy it. And so you can have really good returns on investment.
And, flipping in London makes sense, right? Because you got much bigger starting prices. You spend more, like you said, pound for pound, you get so much more back. Holding in London, although it is a favorite of a lot of people because of the capital appreciation, but on a kind of yield basis or return on cash left in, because the prices are so high, London can be a bit difficult for holding. What are your thoughts on that?
No, it can be. And it's one of the reasons probably why, I haven't typically held projects that I've bought to flip. And a lot of people have been like, oh, but you've got 100% of your money out. Why would you not hold them? But realistically, if I'm holding a flat worth £400,000 to £500,000 and it's only making me a net return of £400 profit, a month, that's a really bad use of capital in my eyes. Now, that being said, there are occasionally deals that we come across that are a lot more attractive when it comes to yield. But I think it's a few things. You have to think about what position are you in as an investor? Because if you've got a lot of capital behind you, then it's a lot easier to say, I'm going to leave more money in, because in the long term, capital appreciation, I've got confidence in prices and they're going to go up. So by the time I sort of compound my capital appreciation with my yield and my interest, that, it's going to be worthwhile. For me personally, I think it's all about finding the right deal. So I don't look at it as if okay, I really want to find something to do a BRRR deal, or I really want to find something to flip. It's what does the deal tell me I should do?
Yeah.
Now, my most recent deal, I'm always the people that follow my channel or the Instagram will see that I'm always flipping. I'm in, out. At the moment, I talk about being in wealth creation mode. So actually making money as opposed to trying to protect the money I've already got.
Yeah.
That being said, the most recent deal I decided to keep. And it was because I actually bought it because I always say, you can't find a deal in London. There's no small deals. You can't find a deal. This was a property that I bought at auction. It didn't sell at auction. It didn't sell because it had relevant legal issues and title issues, etc. But because it didn't sell, you now have the time to actually negotiate more favorable terms with the vendor, which you're able to do. which means we were able to set completion terms that would allow us to complete, subject to being able to resolve those issues. The fact they didn't sell meant, we have a bit more room to negotiate on price. Got a 1-bedroom flat in Hither Green, really good area, ended up paying £179,000.
Sounds very cheap.
Which is reasonable because there were issues that we managed to resolve through an element of expertise and experience when it comes to the legal side of things. But you kind of have to focus on your strengths as well. So if you know that that's an area you're good at, then you can use that to find a deal. If you've got amazing contacts with estate agents, then you can use that as a strength to find a deal. If you're great with, like computers and we've been able to set up maybe algorithms for all of your alerts to make sure that you get to see all of the properties first, that's something that you can use. And I think you have to play to your strengths. But that deal there, £179,000, quick tidy up, sort of £20,000 refurb, and then had to spend another sort of £4,000 on some issues with the roof. Hopefully we're going to get those back from the freeholder, but it's a case of, did we want to wait for them to fix it and not be able to refinance? Or did we want to do it, keep all of our receipts, and worst case scenario, we don't get the money back, but we've got, really nice property. Best case scenario, we get all the money back and recoup that money, and it makes it even more attractive.
If you sold that, what would the flip profit be on that?
So because we didn't sell it like agents, and again, this is a property we bought for 179. The scope between the two, the valuations were anywhere from 275 to 325.
So way above what you purchased it for.
Yeah.
Way above what you purchased it for, what you spent on it. And if you had, bridging costs, council tax, let's go as niche, like that is a very good deal.
All of our costs, because basically from completing to finishing the refurb to getting our valuation, it was under 2 months. So our finance costs were 2 months worth of finance costs, an arrangement fee, and then 2 months. So under £5,000 worth of finance costs.
And you bought it for kind of the house of an average 3-bed in some parts of the north. Fine, it's on the higher end, but people aren't thinking of those kind of numbers in London. So it just shows what's possible. And the legal issues is really important because this house has a sort of legal issue. It's a leasehold. There's no freeholder, thank God. And you can't actually read the lease. It's illegible. So people get scared of that. And people are scared of that. But I know how to fix it. My last flip had like flying freeholds, rights of ways. But we both know when we look at that, we know how to fix that. But everyone else says, oh no, can't deal with it. So perhaps for people watching, like you said, find your expertise. It doesn't have to be you. My solicitor's shit hot. So I'll go to him if I need to. So people watching, look for these kind of weird deals. And this deal was on the market, right?
Yeah, this deal
publicly
was
facing.
It was anybody could have bought it at auction, and anybody could have bought it post auction, but they didn't. And that is the example. If I can't find deals, I can't find deals. I actually wasn't looking for a deal. It was actually from a conversation from somebody else saying you can't find deals, and I was like, I can.
And then you found it, and then you bought.
Yeah, and I found it, and then I bought it.
Well, it proves them wrong then, big time.
And it's literally in the space. I was like, you know what? Sometimes you got to go back to your bread and butter. So now we've got sort of 3 similar deals, all in the pipeline, all similar sorts of numbers. And the thing is that why I said, I'm going to keep that one is because realistically, even at the bottom end, at the 275, at the 275, you end up about £2,000 in the property. Nothing. It's cash flowing £700 at a minimum a month.
I like the maths on that one.
So it comes back straight away. It's 100% plus, like when you do your return on investment annually. It's an area that ceiling prices wise as well. The other reason why I want to keep it is 1 beds that they're doing in the new builds, they're currently listing for about 425. So the trickle down effect of what's going to happen.
It's coming,
So realistically, in the next 5 years, we could be easily looking at that same sort of price point. So by the time you factor in your capital appreciation, your yield, and then the initial value that you've made by adding value, by spending and doing the refurb, you're winning sort of on 3 fronts. And it is possible to do in London. Now, yes, I've been doing it for a while. There's an element of expertise, in terms of being able to find the deal, being able to find these solutions. But like you mentioned with the lease of this being illegible, like a problem is only a problem until you find a solution, and then it's an opportunity.
Yeah, and I think, there's so many red flags in property, and I kind of say to people, if you have all 10 of these red flags, okay, this is very, very tricky. If you've got 2 of them, solve them, find a way through it and understand it. Because some people will see knotweed, for example, Japanese knotweed is so prevalent around here. And they run away from it and they get scared. But I know all I need to do, how much I need to spend, what I need to make that a deal. I'll buy it. Subsidence. You were saying about some of the flaws in this house. Some people might walk in here who lived in London their whole life and say, I can't touch this, the house is moving. And I'm just laughing, like, they're all like this.
And I think that that's really what it comes down to a lot of the time, particularly when the market's hot like this, like it's an upward market.
yeah.
Like you have to be willing to create the deal. Like no
Yes.
one's gonna, even sources are not gonna come to you and hand you a perfect deal because there's so many people that want them. Just the concept of supply and demand means the margins get eroded out to the point that it's no longer a deal. So, you know, for anybody that's really looking to get into property, whether it's Wales, Scotland, London, or anywhere across the UK, the ability to actually create a deal and find a deal and actually be able to identify opportunity, I think is what is going to set you apart from a property developer adding your own value versus a property investor, which is more traditionally linked to buy to lets and just investing in property for long-term returns.
I think another thing is everything you've said is underpinned by understanding, education, and network. We have the right people to speak to when we need to. We understand it ourselves if someone else can't help us. And we have the right understanding of what it is, how to fix it, what it should be, what it shouldn't be. And we can get these deals and we can move quicker. If someone's like, oh, I got to get someone to review this, you might see the legal issue and say, yeah, it's fine, here's my offer. The other guy's taken 3 days to get it back. We've got a deal. So I think everyone watching, you need to have these 3 things in place in order to find deals in London, in Scotland, in anywhere. So thanks for that. That was really helpful. Now, everyone, before you leave this video, go to Instagram, click the link below and give Kazi a follow. And also hit subscribe, hit like. We'll see you on the next video.